Oh boy, here we go again. So, we had ourselves an article published by Harmondale of The Athletic about the Vancouver Canucks and another one of their potential right-handed defenseman targets in the trade market. Let's go over onto Twitter and take a look at what Harmon has to say promoting the article. Young right-handed top four defensemen rarely hit the market. John Marino could be one of the rare ones that do this summer if Chris Letang resigns. Should Marino be a Canucks trade target? Here is the article analyzing the fit and the potential cost. The link will be in the description if you want to go ahead and read this. Should John Marino be a Canucks trade target? And as a result, we're not going to go out there and screenshot anything because it is Athletic paid for material. However, this is an interesting conversation to have yet again about one of the players that might enter the trade sphere depending on whether or not Chris Letang gets re-signed, whether or not Malkin gets re-signed as well. You have Rust, who already got his contract, so he's not really included in the conversation in the same way as he had been before anymore. But for John Marino, this is indeed the second time we've talked about his name. Previously, it was back in March, I believe, when we initially talked about the Canucks and how they were interested in acquiring this player, mostly because Jim Rutherford, the Canucks president of hockey operations, was one of Marino's biggest fans back when the guy made his debut with the team all the way back in, 2019-20, that's what it was. He scored 26 points in 56 games played as a right-handed defenseman, 6'1", 181, so he's a little on the lanky side there. But after he had that fantastic season, a lot of Penguins fans were going out there and saying, hey, this John Marino guy is pretty gosh darn good. He can move the puck around, he's very fluid with his mobility, and he makes the right reads in the defensive zone very frequently. This is a guy that, at the time, he was only 23 years old, he could be seen as a number one defenseman option sometime down the line if he really continues on this path. And there was really no reason to go out there and doubt that. He had just wrapped up a really good campaign with the Harvard University Crimson, and his debut year showed a lot of promise. But an interesting point is made in the article on The Athletic, but Harmondale actually relates John Marino's profile and progression to Brock Boeser, where Boeser had a fantastic rookie season, 29 goals, was an absolute stud for the Vancouver Canucks, so lethal, so potent with his goal scoring, but he's a guy who unfortunately fell off in terms of point production the next few years. Dale goes out there and says that John Marino kind of exhibited somewhat of a similar thing. He had 13 points in 52 games the next season and 25 points in 81 games this year. He had 1 goal, 24 assists. Sure, he had more assists than he did in his rookie season, but he did so in 25 more games and he only had 1 goal as well. After his rookie season, though, in 2019-20, Jim Rutherford went out there and signed Marino to that massive contract extension, making $4.4 million until the end of the 2026-2027 campaign, wherein he will be, 30 years old? So pretty much towards the tail end of his prime. Now, even though John Marino is a player that you could go out there and speculate, hey, he might not have the same standing within the organization as he did when Rutherford and Alvin were at the helm, there still is a valuable player here that I think could improve the Vancouver Canucks should they go out there and trade for this guy. It was Elliot Friedman who noted back in March that they did have interest, and people were already discussing the idea that, hey, if the Canucks went out there and traded for John Marino, he would already be their best right-handed defenseman, would he not? I mean, take a look at the other options you have. Tucker Poolman, Travis Hamonic, formerly Luke Schenn, Tyler Myers. I mean, John Marino, no matter what you say about how good this guy is compared to how good he was in his rookie season, I'd take John Marino 10 times out of 10 over Tyler Myers or Tucker Poolman or any of these other guys, so this is already an option that could improve the Vancouver Canucks quite significantly should they go out there and try to achieve it. Harmondale writes in his article about how if you had a John Marino on your team, you could have a defensive pairing that goes Quinn Hughes on the first pair, John Marino on the second pair, and Travis Dermott on the third pair, which would provide the Canucks with good puck mobility throughout all of their pairings, which is something that Jim Rutherford went out there and very explicitly said in the postseason interview that, hey, the team kind of sucks at right now. If we go over to some Canucks forums, and the only reason I'm on here is because there are quotes that I wanted to read. This is a post from March 8th, back when a user named Timu Solani went out there and wrote about the John Marino thing. There are some quotes from Athletic pieces that I do think are worth noting, which is why we are indeed here. Take a look at this. While Marino seems like an unlikely asset to be moved from over here in Vancouver, Rob Rossi and Josh Yohei stated the following in the summer. Defenseman John Marino's standing appears less firm with the Hextall-Burke regime than it was with Rutherford. Multiple league sources and a team source have said the Penguins are willing to part ways with Marino for the right price. Now, whatever the heck that price may be, who really knows? Harmondale goes out there and he says in his article that it's really difficult to try to project these things, which I could definitely go out there and understand. But last time we spoke about John Marino on the channel, it was in the context of a potential Brock Boeser trade, and based off of everything that we have seen from Jim Rutherford over the past few days and Brock Boeser himself, it doesn't really look like he's going to get traded anymore. If anything, it looks like Miller is going to be that guy. So I really don't think Brock Boeser has a future away from Vancouver anytime soon. So I'm going to kind of go out there and say he's not going to be included in these discussions anymore. It might be difficult to trade away a Garland or a Boeser straight up in this kind of situation, so Harmondale goes out there in his article and he says maybe you could trade away one of these forwards and use the assets you receive to acquire a Marino from Pittsburgh, but of course it's really going to depend on what is there and what you actually get for said initial players in the first place. Either way, though, it is interesting, especially when you consider how Pittsburgh Penguins fans have viewed Marino over the past few years, because there really is a difference here that transcends just the fan base itself, right? You know, there's an organizational aspect here. If the team up top is like, yeah, we just don't really like Marino in the same way that Rutherford did, and Rutherford at the same time is like, yeah, I really like this guy still. I want him on my new team because this team kind of sucks at breaking the puck out, then there is a very easy fit to go out there and conclude. So talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about the idea of John Marino once again heading over to the Vancouver Canucks. Last time it was in the context of a Rodriguez-Boeser thing. This time we're not really talking about Boeser anymore. I don't really think he's a part of this conversation in the same way that he had been, mostly because of the JT Miller thing that has taken over the reins, but either way, if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, let me know in the comments if you would want a John Marino despite his decline in production, despite the fact that Penguins fans might not be as high on this guy as they used to be, even though he still is making $4.4 million till the end of 2027. If you even get a fraction of what Marino was and his rookie season, which was, if you do the math right here, let's go back over to the Elite Prospects page. Sorry, I lost it right here. 26 divided by 56 multiplied out by 82. This was a player that in his rookie season was on pace for 38 points. However, this season he got 25. If you're able to get a consistent 25 to 30 point scorer who can break the puck out and move across the ice as well as Marino can, what is the price tag you put on that type of player? Pens fans, if you're going to the comments and talking to me about Marino, please let me know your thoughts also as well about Chris Letang and how he plays into this conversation too, because Harmon brings it up in his article, but if there is no more Chris Letang, if this guy goes to free agency and he signs somewhere else, then all of a sudden it's easier to conclude that the Penguins would not be as willing to move Marino in a trade because you kind of need the right-handed defenseman to make up for Chris Letang and the ice time he fills up. If you do re-sign this guy, though, what are your thoughts on Marino? Would you rather move him out because $4.4 million, while being pretty much a valuable contract for the player that Marino could be, is not necessarily the cheapest deal in the world? If you traded away this guy to Vancouver, what would you want in return? Is it a first-round pick? Is it a prospect? Is it a roster player like a Connor Garland? Is it a package involving several of these types of assets? Talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about Marino, Vancouver, the Canucks, the Penguins, etc. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.